Hey guys, I'm Brendan. This is Jack's Wood Company. Today we're sawing some logs. Okay, that'll do. All right, so here we go. We got it in the mill, or in the shop next to the mill. First thing I do is I take all the bark off of the logs before I saw them. And the reason why, I'll show you the reason why. The reason why is because of, first of all, when they put the tree on the ground, like at site where they cut them down, sometimes it's gravel, sometimes it's dirt. And then all of that stuff gets embedded in the bark, and then I also drop them on gravel here as well. And any kind of dirt or rocks or gravel for a sawmill is no bueno. And so you can see right here, like that's just full gravel right there, giant rocks right there. The saw will not go through those. Same with like right here. You know, I'm sure a guy could spend all day picking those out and still not get them all and still hit one. And so is it worth it? No, it's not. It's not worth it at all. So I just take the bark off first, and it just makes things so much more easier. And then the other thing about it too, for me personally, is I bring the wood into my house because I have a small operation here. And the bark is just pretty dirty, bugs live in it, and so for a number of reasons I just take it off first. So we'll get to it. Okay, so the best way I've found so far to take the bark off of a tree is to basically just beat on it like it owes you money. So let's get to it. Just like that. I'll show you what that looks like. You can see it separate there. Pops off nice and clean. Like I said, sometimes you can just get under it. Sometimes it just comes right off. Sometimes it comes right off like a skirt. See? Sometimes it just comes right off. Big pieces. Big pieces, big naked log. There we go. See? Just like that. There it goes. So it's tough work. Next thing I'm gonna do, yeah, this one's nasty. This one's nasty. This one's gonna be full of surprises, guys. Yeah, this one should make for a good video once we start sawing it. The arborist, or not the arborist himself, but the manager, told me over the phone that the guys had to leave site because they kept running into the rocks or something, apparently. I don't know. Sometimes, I don't know. We'll see. It is a little suspicious how these cuts are only done halfway through. So I'm gonna grab my saw, try and finish these cuts. Hopefully we don't hit any rocks. Well, it's a good thing that, well, actually this is my sharper chain. I should probably use my other one. I call it the nibbler. I call it the nibbler because I use it to dig out like metal and stuff, or rocks, or whatever we find. Whatever we find in these urban trees. Yeah. This saw here, she's a bit old and tired. I got this like well over, I don't know, well over 10 years ago now. There we go. Now, here's the fun part. Here's why I was saying earlier that this one is gonna be a nasty one. This fissure, as they call them, this fissure runs all the way up through the entirety of the log, and it does go fairly deep into it. Quite a ways down in there. So, but there is still a fair bit of usable material here on this side. So we're gonna try and salvage it. First thing I want to do is I actually want to try and separate those two pieces, because who knows what's inside. So let's see if we can do that. I think it's going to be doable. It's going to take a little extra encouragement. Let me think about this for a minute and I'll be right back. Okay. So I strapped it to the mill to try and keep it from rolling so I can get some more leverage on it. See if that works. Make progress. It's gonna go. I'm gonna have to just use the saw and get in there, tickle it a little bit. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I think we got it now. Not entirely sure what I'm going to do with that. Or this, for that matter, but definitely has a bit of a twist. Make a couple of boards. I'll get a couple boards out of it anyway. I think the other one's a little bit better. This can be a little tricky sometimes, especially after the bark is taken out, because the outer of the log is like just slickered and shit. So, and then sometimes I put ramps, sometimes I don't. Today I'm gonna see if I can swing it on there without them. See, it doesn't always work that way. Today it did. Okay. I'm gonna have to put some blocks in here. Okay, so I actually decided that what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take some of the twist off of this side first. I'm just gonna cut the two high sides off and then turn it back over. That way it'll be sitting on something a little more stable than just blocks. I think it'll be easier that way. So, and I'm also gonna do that first cut with an old blade too, because we had no idea what's in this nasty wood here, right? So, I always like to do questionable cuts with a questionable blade first before I start trying to make actually like valuable material. So I guess we'll just put it on and get started. Bit of a hang up here. Sometimes these things happen. Not gonna make it again. I'm gonna have to do that same thing. Hold on. Quite a ways. I definitely turned that blade into a nibbler there just by hitting the side stop on my saw. It's okay. Try this again. Alright, now at least we have something flat. Turn it over and we'll salvage. So it looks like there might actually be a little bit of decent material in there to get at least worth the gas money to go and get it. So, oh, look at that creepy crawler. Some weird shit really comes out of these things. Okay, I'm gonna put a new blade on the saw and I'll be right back. Alright, I got things set up here. So let's just go ahead and make the first cut. Nice. Nice. So it turns out my suspicions of this tree or this log here being a little bit difficult were wrong, which is pleasant. It's the last one that we milled in here before I was making videos. Unfortunately, this one would have made a great video. Ended up pulling out a whole handful of metal. So hopefully we don't run into another one like that, but it will make good for good content though. So anyway, the next thing that we do is I take these out into the yard and then I wash them with water. It's my favorite part. You get to really see the color and the grain of the wood. So let's get to it. All right, I got these out here already. Let's give them a wash. Cremona's got the bucket. Malecki's got the power washer. And then me, I got the water hose. This will make a nice resin piece. There's another reason why it was a good idea to cut it flat first, because if it had just been sitting on blocks, it would have been too unstable by the time I had gotten down to it to make that cut. So someone will like that for a nice resin piece. Still usable. So we like to do around here, we like to salvage as much as possible. As much as possible. All this would have otherwise, if I hadn't have called this company, this arborist company, to let them know that I come and take stuff like this, all of this would have just been cut up in small little pieces or sent through the chipper. That's it. I'm gonna let these stand out here and drip dry a bit, and then I'll stack them over there. Meanwhile, let's go and figure out what we're gonna do with the other piece of this log. This guy here, I have an idea. Because there isn't really much there. And it's bent and twisted, and typically the wood will dry like the same way as sort of like, if you can, I'm not sure if you can see on camera, but this piece has a twist kind of like this, and then it's also like bent like this. And basically that would, if I did try and get a piece of wood out of whatever's left there, that piece of wood would just dry like this and like that. And so there's really no point in trying to salvage a piece of wood that's just gonna bend. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try and take some of the junk off the backside and then just dry it as is. And maybe it can stand upright like as a wall piece, or It could like hang over top of a bar, like as a light, like you put lighting underneath it as a feature piece. There's still potential in this, so we're not going to waste it. So I think I'm going to scrap my original plan of trying to take some of this junk off, because there's just no way. There's just no way without like running into one of the stoppers on the side. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just cut a flatter spot on that end, and then it can stand upright like this vertically, and I'll just dry it like that as a big creepy collar. And then I'll just dry it that way. I'll just stand it upright somewhere in the yard. It could dry like that, and then we'll sell it sometime down the road. So that's it. All right, well, it's tomorrow here, and I already got this one set up. This one should be fun. It's got a couple of different cracks in it. Crack going this way on this side, and then a crack going this way on that side. So we'll see what we get into. All right, let's get started. Ooh, ow. I hurt my pinky this morning playing with the dogs, so you might hear me say ow. You might hear me say ow a whole bunch of times. This hand is like entirely limp. Yeah, so what happened there is we hit something hard. So I think it's a rock. I think it's a rock, but it might be metal. It didn't sound like metal. It kind of had that sort of a rock kind of a sound, but. And like I said, when I talked to him on the phone, he did say that their guys were running into issues. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna take a break, and then either this is the end of the video, or we might figure out what to do here. I'm taking a break. Well, I was wrong about it being a rock. It is indeed metal. Let's have a look. There it is. There it is right there. So I'm gonna dig it out, and then I'm not entirely sure what I want to do yet. If I'm gonna try and finish the cut with a different blade, or sometimes what I do, is I just turn it over and get what I can off the other side. Hope I don't hit anything. So I'm not sure, but we've got to dig this out first. I was really hoping I wasn't going to hit any metal on this one. I hit so much metal on the last one. Oh, it's big. Oh, you know what it is. Oh, I know what it is. Oh, that's horrible. Okay. Well, that changes everything. I think this is a bolt. It's a big bolt. It's the washer's loose. Yeah. It's a terrible trajectory. Ay, ay, ay. That is seriously unfortunate. Well, let me show you what this is all about. This is the second time that I've encountered this. Ow! Oh, my finger. This is the second time I have encountered something like this in a tree, and it's horrible. If anyone out there is watching and you're an arborist, just know that doing this is like not smart. Just cut the tree down, sell that on the customer. Not sure if that's, you can see that. Let me see if I can zoom that. There we go. You see that? Oh yeah. There we go. That's clear. So that is like a 1/2 inch threaded rod. Whoop. A 1/2 inch threaded rod with a washer on the end, like right there. And so what they do is, like, obviously the tree was falling apart, and then they try and bolt it back together and think that that's smart. It's not. And then it just, like, it actually kills the wood when you drill that, because they drill the hole first, right? Drill the hole with a auger bit, and then put the rod through, bolt it, and then the tree grows around the rod. But the wood, like, you'd kill the wood when you drill through it, so. If anyone wants to argue with me on that, go ahead. We can do that. So that threaded rod is kind of going in on an angle like this and down, which sucks because, like, any material that I would have tried to recover off the other side is going to be risky. It's going to be dicey. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm gonna still try and get what I can from here, because likely there wouldn't be any bolts up in there because it was just this piece that was breaking off. So, and then I'm gonna do it as the way it is, and I'm just gonna take a couple more, as many as I can, and at least try and make my gas money back on this one. It's always something. Okay, I'm ready to go here. Let's get to it. See what we can find. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, right on it. I don't think we hit that. What else is in there? That was hilarious that that just popped out like that in front of me like that. I'm glad we didn't hit it. I like to hit it. Wouldn't hurt it if we hit it. Oh wow. Another one. Oh wow. Did we clearly miss these? Oh wow. Wow. That's like, wow. So, I think out of a clear stroke of luck, I'm just going to look at these rocks a little bit better first. Oh, maybe. Oh, I think so. I don't know. That's hard to say. Definitely, yeah, no, we hit it. This is a big hump right there. Okay, we hit them. So, yeah, I'm done with this one. I think I'm done with this one. So, let me give you a look-see here. Oops. A few big rocks here. And then I'm pretty sure, I think, by the looks of it, yeah, we nibbled away at that one. Sucks. Sucks. It's usually that one might not be so bad because just barely kissed it. Usually when the blade hits rocks, it's toast. Just right toast, but it kind of just skiffed over the top, which is alright. Probably just, I think that blade will be fine. Just needs to be resharp, but I don't know, I think. There's another one. Fucking kids from the 80s, throwing rocks up into the trees before they had cell phones and shit. That's my theory. Anyway, I'll add this to the collection. Well, I don't know. I think I'm done with this one. So definitely, I don't want to put another blade on. I only have that one left, and that's a fancy one. Oh yeah, there's another one. There's one. Oh yeah. All kinds of fucking whole handful of gravel there in there. Wow. And if you look here, it almost has iron staining right there too, which would kind of mean that there's like something metal not too far away. Yeah, well, whatever. I think I'm gonna be done with this one, guys. Sometimes that's the way they go. You never really know what's inside until you start opening them up. Just a lot of wood to have to get rid of. It's too bad. Okay, well anyway guys, next thing we'll just go out there and we'll wash these ones off and that'll be it. Alright, well that's today's video. Thought I would, before we wrap things up, I thought I would show you what one of those threaded rods looks like. And this is exactly what they look like. This is from a different tree. The one in this tree is still in it. I'll probably extract it tomorrow. I would assume it's probably more like this long, but it doesn't really matter how long they are. So anyway, as always guys, take care and enjoy.